What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sooner Surge. Our second live tonight as we covered some OU softball earlier. Uh, Appreciate everyone that's on here every single night. I see a lot of the names that are on here every night. We appreciate each and every one of you for being so faithful to our channel and how you are helping us out by liking and commenting and getting others to be a part of this. We appreciate it. We don't take it for granted, Jay.
That's right. Another day, and Oklahoma football gets another commit, and it's Emmett Jones again. The guy just delivers. Period. Jeremy, on the video we did about about Emmanuel Choice, Emmett Jones is the closer. That's what he does. And Choice, another guy that we were wondering, are they going to take that many receivers? It looks like they are. And Gray God. That's correct. Max Granville news about a crystal ball for Max Granville is huge.
6'3", 220, great. Would be great. 4-star.
They need a linebacker in this class, a good one. So I think, and all you need to know about him, he also runs hurdles, 100 and 300 hurdles, which if you can run hurdles, you're pretty dang athletic. So he's an athletic freak.
Yeah. Sooner, Jen Kane. Appreciate you being on here as always. OU's getting some commitments probably tomorrow, Jay. I think they get the QB in the 2026 class. You do too, I think.
Yeah, correct. Jaden Neal committing tomorrow night, late afternoon. He will, I believe, commit to Oklahoma. And okay, here's what I want to do, Bobby. Here's what I want to do. I want to stay with recruiting for a little bit. Here's what I want to talk about. So right now, Oklahoma has 17 commits. Okay. We've talked about the numbers. It's going to be 23, 24, 25. I'm going to go down and list some names. And Jeremy and everybody on here, I want you to tell me, out of these guys I named, how many they get. Okay? And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to preface it with, there's 8 guys I'm talking. These 8 would get you at 25. You're not going to get all these. So out of the ones I list, which ones am I missing? Here's what I'm thinking. CJ Nixon. Okay?
Yes.
Max Granville.
Yes.
Omarion Robinson. Safety. Offensive line, you got 3 names that I think are still you could talk about. Babaloa, Lamont Rogers, and Fasusi, all 5 stars. Okay? You're not going to land all those, but I'm just going down the list of players. You have Cortez Mills, which I do think they land at receiver. That's another receiver. And then you have the Elijah Melendez out of Miami of Ohio. Or Miami, I don't know why I said Miami, Florida. Sorry. Miami, Florida, who visited last weekend. That's another name. That's 8 names. If you were to land all those, you're at 25. So there's some names I'm missing here. But I do think a handful of those guys you get, specifically CJ Nixon, Granville, Omarion Robinson, and then I think right now maybe Lamont Rogers is where I'm leaning out of the linemen. But you still have Babaloa and Fasusi.
Sooner Cowboy says Melendez is going to stay with Miami.
Oh, did he? I missed that today. Sorry if I missed that. So there, take that one off.
I didn't see that, Jay, but you got to land one of the 5.
Thank God, no. Thanks for that. So what are the other names that could be
what
out
about
there?
Haywood?
I think we all know the names we're talking about. So who else to get you to 25 if you're going to take 25 are we not talking about?
What about Haywood?
Alabama, for sure. Done.
100%?
Done. He hasn't committed, but everybody said that's where he's going.
And Gray God said he sold on Rogers, but Jay, I think you've got to land one of the 3 5-star O linemen.
You got to land one. I think 2 would be outstanding. To put with Foje on that 25 class, it would be huge. Yeah, Mess, I agree. Haywood's going to Bama. I don't think there's any way you're getting him out of Bama. So I do think linebacker-wise, I mean, do they take another one? That would be the question. I saw Christian Jones, somebody put in there, I believe. Jimmy. So I'm just wondering where you guys are leaning, fans in the comments here. Where do you think they're going with the other, or do you end up with 23 and call it good, Jeremy?
I think you can, Jay. I mean, obviously you'd like to get as many as you can. And Easy Street, I'm with you. Who are some 4-star names, Jay? Do you know any off the top of your head?
Well, I'm not right now. I'm sticking with those 3 5-star because I want
OG.
Foji's already committed.
They've got Foji. What's Foji going to end up being? Though?
Okay. There's the other name. Cade is another name. Hey, another name I want to talk about, though, it just came to my head, is the guy that's between Oklahoma and Kansas State. I cannot pronounce his last name. I think it's Petska. I cannot pronounce his last name. Somebody help me out.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, that's another name we haven't talked about. Afalava is out there as well, Bobby says. So there's, I guess the more important question is, Sooner fans, are they taking 23? Are they taking 24? Or are they taking 25? I think that would be and then where do you guys, Jeremy, where do you think they defensive line-wise in this class? How are you feeling?
It's not as good as last year's class, Jay.
No, but I think that's where I'm kind of leaning here when I'm talking about so many receivers in the class. Would you rather them go get another defensive lineman? I think maybe the answer is yes, but who? That's the issue.
Yeah, the answer is yes, but the issue is who. That is correct. They've missed out on a couple. Bobby thinks that they're going to take 23, but I think 25 if it's right 25. Yeah, if it's the right 25. And Jen says we need a good O-line and land one of the 5-star. Got to land one of the 5-star O-linemen. Must.
Yes, quarterback Jaden O'Neill. I believe he'll and that's the name, 4-star defensive lineman. Thanks, Sooner Cowboys. Appreciate it. Man, between softball and stuff, I'm trying to keep up. But Floyd Boucard is a name I would love for Oklahoma to land. That's another name that's not on the list. Thank you, Sooner Cowboys. Appreciate that. What's up, Sooner Canuck? Sorry. Taking winners. And I think, Bobby, you kind of hit the nail on the head is this. They'll take 25 to make it work, but they're not going to take 25 just to take a number. It's going to have to be what they need and what they really want, I think.
And you talked about this, Jay, on the manual choice video, but OU's got Jackson Arnold currently. They got Kevin Sperry. They got Michael Hawkins. And now they're going to likely land Jaden O'Neill. I mean, the quarterback position is it's in wraps for the next, foreseeable future.
We talked Bobby talked about it in the Discord tonight. Hey, if you're not in the Discord, sign up for Sooner Surge Unlimited. It's in the description. But Bobby mentioned how recruiting has changed over the last 10 years. And just all of it, really. But the fact that Oklahoma has, if O'Neill commits tomorrow, which I think it will, you're talking committed all the way through 26 already. That's crazy. And especially, I want to say, especially with Brent Venables' commitment policy. I mean, that's a heavy weight for somebody to just say, I'm going to commit right now for 2 years down the road, right?
Lori dropping in a threat here. Hit the like before she gets here. Okay? We do.
Nice. Nice. You need to come back to Oklahoma anyway, Lori.
We do need another defensive tackle. Now, the portal, obviously OU did some damage in the portal this year at D tackle. And I think they're going to, that's something but you can't count on it.
Gray got another name. Smith Arogbu, another name there. That's a good option.
Absolutely. Is this shaping up to be an elite class? Well, I think it's shaping up, Eric, to be a top 6, top 7 class. I'd say that's pretty elite. That's my personal opinion. It's not going to be a top 3 class unless they can land maybe 2 of those 5-star offensive linemen. That changes things a little bit. Yeah, in Easy Street, we do have a couple of linebackers, potential linebackers anyway, coming out of Carl Albert for sure. Chester, don't apologize for being late. We actually did a softball live about an hour ago.
Yeah. Hey, real quick on the I was going to get something earlier.
It's 6th elite, Bobby. I think it is.
Oh. But Jason, I did watch it a little bit, not as much as I would like, and I will say this: he is an emerging guy. I think he's a guy that's going to climb. I do think, from what I read, though, it looked like NC State really after him, maybe. But definitely 6'2", 275, definitely a guy that very impressive on tape. I think here's the thing, and I'll say this about Oklahoma so far under Brent Venables, and people can argue if they want. If you look at the evaluation of talent with this staff, I think it's been very good. I think they've evaluated talent really good. I also think they've got guys that maybe earlier on were 3 or 4-star that have moved up quite a bit. So that looks like it could be a guy like that with the Williams Lee kid, Jason. Thanks for pointing him out.
Chester, we posted a video after the commitment of Emmanuel Choice, wide receiver out of Lancaster, Texas, 6'4", 195, physical guy. He gets the commit. He commits today. That's one from the Champ U barbecue.
Yeah, and Jason, a perfect example of this, Ryan Foji. I think Ryan Foji, they got him early, and I think he's going to climb big time on offensive lineman. I like him a lot.
Damon,
I do think here's the thing. They had a really good offensive line class in 2024. I mean, when you're thinking Eugene Brooks, EPL, which we haven't seen yet, which I think he's probably going to tear it up, and you could go down the list. What I think, though, is that this year in 25, I think you really need to have an outstanding offensive line class. To me, the way they close on offensive line may be the turning point in this class. And I think it's going to be how they close with offensive line play. And you're going to see it. If you're really wanting to jump up the rankings, then you need to land 2 5-stars at offensive line.
And they have good quarterbacks for the foreseeable future. It'd be a great place to come play offensive line. I'm surprised CJ didn't commit to. I think it's right around the corner. Damon, welcome back to Saptown. That's where I'm at. EPL lost 20 to 30 pounds and put on a lot of muscle.
Hey, real quick, I'm going to read Robert's, and then I got something. When do you think you put best evaluation on the team around week 5 or 6? I don't know. I saw a video, and I tend to agree with this. I think week 4, I think Tennessee game. I think that's when you know.
Although, Jay,
there's 2 games for me. There's 2 games for me. It's Tennessee at home, and then it's Auburn on the road. If they go through those games and they're still undefeated, then I think they're going to have a great year. Those are the 2. I think Auburn's a slippery game. I know you should beat them. I get it. I think it's a slippery being on the road.
To me, that look, the Tennessee game is just like the Nebraska game 2 years ago.
They're way better than Nebraska, by the way.
I agree they are. It's a home game. You can't lose it.
Can't lose it.
And OU the last 2 years has started off really strong, as Robert Ware says, and they've just flattened out. They've peaked early. You cannot peak early. That's going to go through the mind. It's got to be a constant increasing and playing all the way through the year. And there's Mez's 12.
I know what I was going to ask. I don't know if you saw it somewhere on Twitter today about maybe it was a quote from something about some incoming freshman tearing it up in the weight room. I don't know if you saw that. He's basically whooping everybody on everything.
Who is it?
Just really. I think it's an insider thing. So I don't have an insider. I just saw a quote. Who would you think that'd be? Is that somebody like Danny Okoye?
Unless it's EPL.
EPL just got there, but man, I bet.
Right, and he may be turning heads quickly. They said it's a DB, Jay.
There you go.
Hey, Jay. Robert said so far, Sooner Sports looking up this weekend. Yeah, you got the Abby Dayton commitment. Oh, Devin Jordan, Jay.
I watched him play in high school. Did you watch him play in high school?
Jay, I watched him on the track, live, in person, 10 feet from him. Looks the part, dude. Looks the part.
Really? Hey, here's the thing. I do think high school defensive backs, it's sometimes hard to gauge them if you just watch their high school games. Because I do think a lot of times they can just shut their man down and teams won't throw at him. And then you're like, man, they didn't do anything. I wasn't that impressed. I didn't see him do anything. Well, sometimes you can do that in high school, but that doesn't mean it's not going to translate to college. And I think he was very under the radar when he committed last year.
Yeah, look.
What about Reggie Powers, too? I see this comment. What about Reggie Powers?
Reggie Powers is another name, along with Michael Boganowski and Danny Okoye. And, hey, Devin Jordan was on the 4x1, 4x2 state record-setting, state records in those unions set. I believe both of those.
What's the fastest you've seen?
I don't remember what Gentry Williams ran, Jay, and Braylon Thompson from Union last year, who's at Pitt State right now competing, but that's fast. Yeah, Boganowski and Powers are going to be fire. They're going to be legit.
Yeah, hit the like. Appreciate it, Lori. Hit the like, as for sure.
Do either one of those guys get on the field this year, Jay?
What?
Do either one of those guys see for a lot of minutes this year?
I don't know about a lot. I think they might get on the field and play, but like in
special teams,
and then maybe in like when you're winning by quite a bit. I just think that position right now is loaded. That's the issue I have there. I do think they play some. I just don't know how much. Like significant if the game's on the line minutes, I don't think so. But I think they can get minutes because you saw that last year. They did play guys early on to give. I think. Let's talk about it real quick. The incoming freshmen. I mean, I think a lot of them will play, Jeremy. Who do you think incoming freshman-wise gets, I would say, quote, significant minutes? And what I mean by that
after the first 3 games, it changes.
After halftime, third or fourth quarter, close game, they're in there. Who would it be? I think Jaden Jackson and David Stone.
Yes. What about Zion Kearney or Raggins?
I think it's too deep right there right now. Jimmy thinks Tatum. I think maybe if there's an injury. I don't think so. Not an injury. What about? Let me throw a name out to you. EPL.
I think he's got a chance, Jay.
I'm hearing very good things on Hatchett, by the way.
I'm hearing really good things on Hatchett.
Eric thinks Tennessee's going to be a tough one. It is going to be a tough game, but all you have to do, though, and other than Alabama at Tennessee when they beat them, okay? And I'm going to say this about 2 teams, guys. And I know some of you guys will not like it, but Ole Miss and Tennessee, when they played elite defenses, how have they fared?
I'd have to go back and look, Jay.
No, not well. And
right.
Notice I used the word elite defenses. If OU ends up being an elite defense in the conference, I think the games against like Ole Miss and Tennessee and Missouri, I think those games become games that, those teams, Ole Miss has struggled against the teams like Alabama, Georgia that play really good defense. They have in the past. I know those teams those 2 teams will beat most people. I get it. But I think that's kind of the common denominator. If you're wanting to win the SEC, you better have a dang good defense.
Yeah. Jimmy, if the O-line is better than what people are thinking, because a lot of people think that's a big question mark, that bodes well for this team. And I think it's got a chance to because we know the numbers are there. They've got the numbers. They've got the depth number-wise. It's will these guys step up? And no, Caden Green's not coming back.
Hey, but here's the thing on offensive line. Nobody's going to know till about game 4.
Well,
and Bobby, I said that. I said
OU's offense. OU's offense hasn't struggled against those teams, Jay.
No, but I get it. But that to me though is the holdup right now for me as just a fan that watches football on Ole Miss and Tennessee is I need to see them consistently beat. Same with OU. OU hasn't beaten those teams, so I have to see it from Oklahoma too. That's all. Everybody but Alabama and Georgia. I need somebody to be consistently starting to play with those guys. You saw Texas beat Alabama last year. You saw them playing close the year before. So to me, Texas is kind of feels confident enough. They're playing with the big boys. Now it's OU's turn. You get Alabama at home. You get to go to Ole Miss. You get Tennessee at home. It's time to put up right now.
You got to win the close games, Jay. And I said it last night. I said 3 factors, three things that are the kind of switch flipper and get you to winning close games. And I think they've got that this year, personally.
But
not just because I'm an OU fan.
Yeah, and that's a fact. That's a fact, Sooner Cowboy. And here's another fact. OU, in my opinion, has not figured out how to take a 7-point lead and push it to 20. They haven't figured that out yet. To get a team down and then go put them away. They let teams hang around too much, and then what happens is you lose a close game. Perfect example, Kansas. Okay? They could have went out there, put up some points, ended that game. They didn't. other games last year, there were games where they could have extended. I think even Texas, they win that game. They had multiple opportunities to take that from a 7 to a 14-point game or a 21-point game. They didn't do it. So I think learning how to also do that, I think that's a big part of it.
Eric, I believe you're talking about the Kyler Murray game in the playoff. And OU started off pitiful in that game.
It was awful start.
Awful. OU didn't play well at all early and still hung, 30-something on them? Not just because they took their foot off the gas.
Yeah, but I will say what I will say about that game, and it's kind of going on to the point I'm making is OU was, I don't want to say shell-shocked, but right off the bat, it's kind of like,
didn't play well early, Jay.
This team is faster than what we're used to playing in the Big 12. It's a different level.
Tyler did not start well.
Once they kind of got going and figured it out, they kind of hung in there. I think
it was nerves, dude. I mean, Kyler threw a pick early in that game, didn't he? 2 picks.
What I'm saying is I think that's what you're going to see against Tennessee right off the bat. SEC football, it's a little different. And you got to go out there. You have to go out against Tennessee and make a point. Oklahoma's in the SEC. Welcome to the SEC, Oklahoma, and make a point and put it on it. I'm not saying just –
I disagree with you.
If you can go make a physicality point defensively, why are you shaking your head at me?
I disagree with your take.
On what?
OU was shell-shocked because the SEC was faster. OU had played SEC teams prior to that. I knew exactly what it was. OU played bad. OU played bad early, Jay.
They did, but also the stuff on offense that they normally were getting yards.
Kyler threw 2 picks right off the bat, dude.
Oh, okay, I'm not going to argue this. Jeez.
Go back and rewatch it.
Let me say this right now about Kalen DeBoer.
I'm high on DeBoer. I'm the only one on here who's been high on DeBoer.
He is recruiting way better than I thought he would. But I will say this with the preface. I need to see it after a year where we got to see how he does on air. Because I do think, what if they go out there and they don't play good this year? I think recruiting might go down.
You and Hunter and everyone on here that was on our side on Sooner Surge ripped me about when they hired DeBoer. I said it was a great hire. The best hire you could have because he's one of the best coaches out there in game. And you and Hunter both just ripped me.
Let me disagree, though. I still think Dan Lanning would have been a better hire. That's
absolutely.
I'm not going to argue that. I think he would have been a better hire. Stop. I'm not going to argue.
Absolutely not.
Greg God thinks Texas, Bama, and Ole Miss are our 3 losses.
If that's the 3, OU's in the playoff. OU's in the playoff with those 3 losses.
Okay, if that's the 3, then not necessarily because you got Georgia, Texas, Bama would beat you, and Ole Miss would beat you. Those 4 would go over Oklahoma.
Depends on how many losses they have, Jay. Not if they're all 3 losses.
Ole Miss isn't having 3 losses if they beat OU, I promise you.
Georgia, they're going to lose too.
Their schedule's too weak, Jeremy. If those are the 3 losses, there is no way that they're making the playoffs. Hey, Eric, can you say the same for Oklahoma then? Going 8-4. Here's where I think it's a little bit different. I think BV, that's true. I can see that. If you go, I don't think 8-4, but I think if you were to go 7-5 or 6-6. But here's what I mean by that is Alabama is, you have Saban just retired. If they go out there and he just has all his talent and doesn't do good, I do think it's going to be a pretty that could be eye-opening for the Alabama fans about, maybe he can't coach. And there is people out there right now, Eric, that do think Brent Venables can't coach. I see what you're saying. I do think, though, he has a little bit of a grace because he didn't come into the team that just played for a natty like Alabama, or they were in the playoff, I mean. So you see what I'm saying? So, they played for a natty. So that's the only thing.
Look,
I guess you could say play for a natty the way you describe play for a natty.
You just gotta make plays when it's time to make plays, and sometimes OU has not done that. Period.
Hey, but real quick, I'm not saying Alabama falls off and they can't recruit. So don't take that the wrong way. I'm saying they fall off to where they are now to maybe drop a few spots. That's all I'm saying. I don't think Alabama's going anywhere anytime soon.
Except being at the top.
The big question to me is this. You have Georgia and Alabama. My biggest thing going in the SEC that I'm looking for is which three teams are going to be consistently battling Georgia and Alabama for an SEC championship. Right now, I would have to say a lot of people think Texas is one of those teams, right? And then after that, I think a lot of people think Ole Miss is one of those teams. After that, is it LSU? Is it Oklahoma? The one team I'm going to say I will never put up there is Missouri. Missouri, until they win a couple of SEC championships, I can't do it. I just can't do that.
And really, all former past games are useless stats for the next year. I mean, unless you're talking about the same players. So either way, I mean, you can't really talk about last year's team either, because that team was totally different with Jeff Lebby, Ted Roof, Nunez. That's just on the coaching staff. And then you got Jackson Arnold this year instead of Dylan Gabriel. We'll see what happens, but I think that there's a lot of differences in last year's team and this year's team.
Chief thinks they're taking a step back already. Here's what I will say, though. I do agree with the Saban thing. The Saban loss, I think some people think they'll just Alabama and they're just going to keep doing it. It's not that easy. It's really not. I mean, Lincoln Riley did it with Oklahoma when Bob Stoops left. But after the first 2 years, I was wondering if they were getting ready to go south. We'll see. Throw the stats out.
Easy street. The amount of pressure OU was getting on Quinn Ewers was phenomenal, and it just kind of regressed from the rest of the year.
Yeah, I agree. OU's in the SEC to stay. I think they're a consistent top 4 or 5 team in the SEC. And when I say that, I'm saying there's going to be years they win it. I'm just saying, to me, that's what you have to be if you're Oklahoma. You are a traditional powerhouse. You need to go to the SEC and be a top 4 or 5 team every year. Right?
I don't think anyone, and I think the thing you got to highlight is it's basically that he's following Saban as a deal. No one's downplaying that the board can't coach. Okay, but that's not the point. Bama was struggling to be a top 20 team before. Hey, think about last year, though. Bama got lucky 2 games. They should have 2 more losses very well.
They didn't, Jeremy. That's all that matters.
I agree, but a Hail Mary, Jay, is a big time luck. Just saying.
Hey, they made a play. I mean, you can look at OU made a play on the last drive against
that was pitiful defense. If OU would have won that way, everyone would have said, they would have said Sooner Magic. But
I saw this with their quarterback that went to Colorado to visit. Did you see? Was it Nico that put on Twitter?
I'll explain this one.
What's wrong with USC's NIL? Did you see that?
Yes.
Interesting.
Hey, Eric, 100-yard pick six in the fourth quarter, but not the last play of the game. This was basically the last. It was actually no time on the clock. What was it? 40-something yards, Jay? The Hail Mary pass. You can't let a guy be open in the end zone on that. That was pitiful defense. Unreal.
It was pitiful.
You can't compare that to an early fourth quarter pick six. Come on, Eric.
Tyler hopes DeBoer's a flop.
Yes.
Yeah, I did see that. Sooner Canuck. I did see that. Michigan's.
I don't think he's a flop, though.
Better than I thought, to be honest with you. Fanstop, he's dropping Levy's name. Here we go. Levy's name has been dropped in the chat tonight. Let's go, Fanstop. Hey, also, Fanstop, check him out. Fanstop.com. Use code SURGE when you get there. You see it rolling across the bottom. You get 10% off your first 3 months. New shirts every month. Very cool designs, different colors. Officially licensed, boys. Get signed up for it today.
Hey.
And that's right, fans. That's what I was talking about earlier. They could not put teams away. They couldn't do it.
No, they couldn't. They had chances. You go back to the Kansas game. The defense had 2 big plays in that game in the fourth quarter, and all they had to do was get a first down. They couldn't do it.
Bobby,
and I still think elite quarterback play can be the difference this year.
Real quick, I will give it to you. DeBoer this offseason has recruited better than I thought he would with changing of helms. What I'll say, though, depending on what they do this year, and what other teams do in the SEC, I think next year will be a little bit more difficult for him to keep recruiting well. That's all I'm saying. And when I say recruiting well, I don't mean they're not going to recruit top 5 or 10. I'm just saying being 1 or 2.
There were a lot of head scratches with Lebby, that's for sure. And Greg got asked a question of kind of who was at fault, but I don't want to rehash that because everyone knows I've talked a lot about that. And I'll just get more mad as I talk more about it. But I think it was a combo, okay? It was a combo.
Yeah, and hey, we're about 30 minutes in. Hey, here's the thing. OU got to commit today, wide receiver. Emmett Jones is unbelievable at recruiting. In his 18 months at Oklahoma, what he's done, you want to talk about a good hire from Brent Venables? Emmett Jones was a great hire. Big time. We can only hope that Zach Alley is another great hire. I think that's a big deal for this year's team. So.
And Chief T-Bird giving advice right now. Go take the under on wins for Bama, LSU, Mizzou, and USC, and get the over on OU and Utah. He says you're welcome. And there you have it.
Jeremy loves him. Some DG. DG just had his dime time retreat there at Oregon. Hey, before we get off here, tomorrow, Jaden O'Neal commitment, tomorrow afternoon, evening. I want to say it's at 4 o'clock. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but Jaden O'Neal, 2026 quarterback, commitment time and date is tomorrow. Keep an eye out on that. Hopefully, maybe Max Granville, you saw the crystal ball. Maybe he'll commit soon. That would be great news for Oklahoma. And then I think all the attention turns to me in this Oklahoma 25 cycle. It turns to the O-line. And
agreed.
That's, last year was power line. That's all. When you talked about the recruiting class and where they needed to close and finish, it was defensive line, power line. This year, to me, I think it's O-line. I think the way they close, the trajectory of the next few years, I think is huge for that O-line.
And I'm going to say this before we get off here. Najee Kennedy, I think maybe in the next 48 hours, I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, but there's about 240 on the live at 8:30 that wanted to hear it. Kennedy, I think, makes a decision soon, Jay.
I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be soon or late.
Hey, I've seen many people talk about this too.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting. I don't even know what that's about. All I've said is a few people I've dropped it in comments and discords about big NIL news.
From a paid site.
That's all I've seen from him. But here's what I'll say. It'd be great timing with Champ U Barbecue just ending and trying to close out this cycle. So we'll see. Hey, Robert, thanks so much for that. Hey, the discussion is because of y'all. Y'all kept this chat going the whole time. So appreciate it as always. Make sure you subscribe. Tell your friends about it. We do this every night, twice tonight. So we really do appreciate y'all's help liking the comments or liking the videos and doing the comments. So appreciate it, guys. Jeremy, have a good Monday, man.
Hey, we'll see y'all. Happy Monday.
See y'all.